It's been quite a while since we have had one of these chats, since I realized that I enjoyed hitting myself with a hammer more than dealing with you. I misplaced my hammer, so here we are. I am glad you decided to join us again on the Mellow Yellow Tour. I know it sounds like something a drugged-out hippie came up with, but when you have to cover a bar tab like mine, you take any sponsorship money you can. After this season where you had many rainouts and poor attendance, I'll bet you are desperate for any sponsorship you can get. But it seems like you are only interested in sponsorships that pay you money, not the racers. For instance, K&N Strange Engineering both wanted to revive programs with big payouts to the racers, but you told them they could only do that after paying NHRA a bunch of money. If they are willing to pay the racers money, it shows they do have money to spend, so we are entitled to our cut, just like the looters in Ferguson are entitled to whatever they want from the Best Buy and the liquor store. I'm just pissed I missed out on that free booze. Strange has pulled out of NHRA sponsorships altogether rather than pay the money you were trying to extort out of them. They've been a sponsor longer than you have known what NHRA was. Ever since Charlie Sheen got everyone thinking the phrase "getting some strange" meant something else, and with all the Traxxas and Candy magazine models running around and people talking about getting screwed by the NHRA, we were afraid people were going to expect a little too much from these overpriced tickets. To avoid any confusion, we were glad to get rid of Strange anyway. As it is, Robert Hyde apparently got some strange with the Traxxas model, and it seems he missed the day they taught contraception in school. Maybe Robert should have worn a condom before dealing with the NHRA. What's next, the official condom maker for the NHRA? You might be onto something there. I wonder if we can get SFI to come up with a condom specification, then charge 10 times the price and give us a cut? It goes right along with our motto, dedicated to safety. It appears the only time NHRA shows up in the news is when one of John Force's daughters poses naked or gets engaged to an indie racer, or when a woman wins a world championship. We're trying to slip things like that into the small print of the liability release everyone signs. For instance, Erica was required to show more cleavage at the awards banquet than Spencer Massey. Sometimes we throw something in there to remind Pro Stock that we could care less about them, like requiring both Richie Stevens and Greg Anderson to have their hair styled like electrocution victims. I guess it just shows how little NHRA understands about Pro Stock, when your officials went around asking the top Pro Stock teams how much trouble it would be to switch over to Pro Mod. Hey, what's the difference? They both have Pro in the name and have an engine and wheels, and don't run on nitro. We're thinking of combining Pro Stock, Super Stock, and Stock Eliminator since they all have stock in the name too. As far as we are concerned, all the non-nitro classes are just filler anyway, while we try to get in a minimum of 2 qualifying rounds so we don't have to give any refunds. Notice that we don't even mention the other classes on the refund policy on the tickets. It was pretty obvious at Charlotte, when the track was horrible and the Pro Stock cars were all out of control and V Gaines crashed. We don't give a damn about V, he doesn't even have a full name, and his sponsors refuse to be NHRA sponsors, so we don't care about them anyway. And you made the top alcohol classes hot lap their only 2 qualifying passes with a 45-minute turnaround. Clint Thompson towed all the way from Oregon and only got a few seconds on the track. I actually did feel a little bit bad about all that when someone told me that some of the top alcohol dragsters actually run on nitro. Who knew? I've been missing out on using them to meet that rainout policy. Speaking of policies, you made a big stink before when John Force was accused of throwing a race to his teammate, and you even demanded to see his data logger information. But this year, when it was obvious that Schumacher's teams were all throwing their races to Matt Hagan, not a peep out of NHRA. When we realized how many women were throwing their panties at Hagan, we decided we needed him to be champion again. We changed the rule to allow him to use a 2-headed coin for a lane choice against Tommy Johnson Jr. We were only willing to spend the money to prep one of the lanes, so whoever got the good lane won automatically. Speaking of unfair rules, Why is it that Harleys can run a very aerodynamic scoop while the other brands have to run something that looks like it came off of a 20-year-old pro stock Oldsmobile? Harley pays us a lot of money every year, and we have to guarantee a championship at least every other year, so they can fool middle-aged accountants into thinking their street bikes are fast. We noticed that NHRA Jr. keeps running almost as fast. So next season if your last name is Arana, then you have to strap a 4x8 sheet of plywood to your ass. We got tired of George Bryce speaking out about our unfair rules and arranged to have him taken out with a runaway battery cart. Unfortunately it hit on Jill instead. I'll be watching my back for any battery carts.